two girls, both 12, had bright yellow ribbons in their hair. They grinned with joy when Mickey Mouse hugged them, making a memory that would last forever. But when their mom returned just minutes later, the girls were gone. They had disappeared right there in Disneyland. No yelling, no struggle, no farewell. Only the picture remained as proof they had been there. Nearly 30 years passed before workers discovered something buried deep beneath the park, under the same soil where millions walk each year, and the real story began to emerge. And it was far from magical. The family's background. The Martinez family had recently begun their new life in California. Rebecca Martinez was raising her daughters alone after moving from Manchester. She came to America in 1982 following a deadly workplace fire that claimed her husband's life. She had twin daughters who looked exactly alike, Emma and Sophia. Rebecca worked nights at a clothing factory, putting away every dollar she could for her girls. By 1985, Rebecca had one wish: to give the twins a birthday they'd always remember. Disneyland, California, the most wonderful place in America. They arrived at the park on July 15, 1985. The day was hot and packed with people, but it felt perfect. The twins dressed identically. Sparkly pink shirts, light blue jean overalls, spotless white sneakers, and those matching yellow ribbons Rebecca had lovingly placed in their hair that morning. They were pure happiness. Holding hands, dancing through the park like every attraction was magical. Everyone who witnessed it said it was one of the best days of their lives until 3:07 that afternoon. The final picture. They were in Tomorrowland when they saw him. Mickey Mouse, a park employee in the complete outfit. He was energetic and playful, greeting everyone, hugging children, shaking hands with grown-ups. Emma screamed with delight. Sophia stayed quiet but was equally excited, tugging her mother's arm. "Can we get a picture?" she asked quietly. Rebecca smiled and said yes. She snapped 3 photos, and the final one would become notorious for terrible reasons, the twins standing beside Mickey, both glowing with happiness. What came next still causes heated arguments. Rebecca had to use the bathroom, which was less than 100 feet away. From what she remembered, the Mickey character nodded and showed through hand signals he would watch the girls. Other guests later said they saw him playing with the twins, even laughing and walking in a small circle like he was keeping them entertained. When Rebecca returned, the spot was totally empty. No twins, no Mickey, just vacant space and silence. The fear begins. At first, Rebecca was in shock. Maybe they had run to see another character or entered a store. Then shock became bewilderment, and bewilderment became terror. Rebecca looked desperately for 10 full minutes before alerting a worker about what happened. By 3:30 that afternoon, Disney security was called. Nearby rides were shut down. Messages went out over the speakers. Workers scattered everywhere to search. People came forward as witnesses, but they only had bits and pieces. "I saw the girls walking behind Mickey toward the game area," one said. "They were by the Space Mountain entrance," another reported. "There was a different Mickey by the water feature," a third person insisted. The security cameras in 1985 were very basic. There was no live monitoring, no park-wide facial recognition, and only blurry, slow recordings from fixed cameras. No footage ever captured the twins exiting the park. No one wearing Mickey's complete outfit was recorded leaving. Then came the most disturbing fact. The worker scheduled to wear that Mickey costume during the 2:33 afternoon shift never returned to work. They disappeared as well. The search. Anaheim police launched one of the city's largest investigations. Disney leaders feared the negative attention this would create, so they helped completely by providing worker lists, costume sign-out records, and security badge information. But there was a major issue. All the staff members scheduled to work that day were proven innocent. The Mickey that Rebecca encountered didn't match any worker's costume assignment. His outfit was different, somewhat worn. His gloves had fingertip stitching that wasn't standard. His size didn't match any employee. Someone had impersonated Mickey Mouse and entered the park undetected. The FBI joined the investigation. Dozens of other Mickey costume reports were followed up and checked, but the man, the one who appeared with the Martinez twins in that picture, was never located. It became an unsolved case, stuck in time. As weeks became months, the case went cold. No bodies were discovered, no money demands came, no credible suspects emerged, just a heartbroken mother and one blurry photograph. News outlets named them the Disneyland Twins. The case gained nationwide coverage and started discussions about child protection, park monitoring, and gaps that let people use fake costumes. But without any clues, everything stopped. Rebecca stayed in California. She wouldn't legally say the girls were dead. Every year on July 15th, she placed 2 yellow ribbons by the park gates. Every year she hoped. And for 28 years nothing happened, until 2013. Part 2. The Head in the Drain. In February 2013, Disneyland was preparing for its newest ride, a modern update of Tomorrowland. The work needed extensive underground construction, including taking out old drainage systems untouched since the early 1980s. Just past midnight on February 17th, 2 contract workers were cleaning debris from a sealed concrete drain pipe beneath a maintenance corridor. The tunnel was tight and dimly lit, and it wasn't shown on any current blueprints. At exactly 12 a.m., one worker radioed in, his voice reportedly trembling. "We found something human," he said. What they discovered would reopen one of the darkest cases in Anaheim police history. What the ground returned, stuck inside a corroded metal screen, buried under years of dirt and water runoff, was a cut-off human head that had been preserved by dry conditions and was trapped in a faded rubber mask. The mask was unmistakable. Mickey Mouse. Not a copy, not a plaything, but a full-sized Disney character mask that was specially made, professional quality, and melted to human remains. Crime scene experts proved something unbelievable. The human flesh inside the Mickey head came from a man in his late 40s who had probably died since the mid-1980s. There was no lower jaw, no identification, only a small bone fragment near the eye area. A crime scene artist used computers to rebuild the face, and the result looked remarkably like a former Disney worker who had vanished in 1981, a man named David Collins. Who was David Collins? David Collins had worked as a part-time entertainer at Disneyland from 1979 to 1981. He was known for perfect attendance and being very reserved, and he left his apartment without any warning. At the time, police saw no signs of violence. They figured he had relocated or joined some traveling entertainment group, but his case was never officially finished. Now his cut-off head was discovered under Disneyland, still wearing the outfit he once performed in. But the dates didn't add up. Collins disappeared in 1981. The Martinez twins went missing in 1985, which brought up a frightening question. If Collins was dead, who was in the Mickey costume that took the twins away? Back to the start. Detective Sarah Mitchell was a recently promoted murder detective who had examined the Martinez case during her college years. She was assigned to lead the reopened investigation. She studied the original 1985 park pictures again, including the well-known image of the twins embracing Mickey. She noticed one thing. The glove stitching appeared strange, worn, and not regulation. That same stitching pattern matched an old police photograph of Collins in his costume from 1980. And there was something more. One visitor photo taken by a different family just moments before the twins disappeared showed Mickey standing motionless in the background, but his eyes weren't looking at the camera. They were turned to the side, watching the twins. Part 3. The Costume Room. 2 weeks after finding David Collins's head beneath the drain pipe, Detective Sarah Mitchell received a tip that totally transformed the whole investigation. An unsigned letter with a Santa Ana postmark came to the Anaheim Police Department. It was typed, nameless, and enclosed in a plain white envelope. The note read, "The others are still down there behind the old prop storage door 3C. Ask for the keys Disney never recorded." It seemed like garbage or someone making trouble. But Disney's internal security records did reference a forgotten space called the prop storage. It had been used for keeping things in the 1970s before being closed during a fire safety update, and it had been locked for more than 30 years. Docker 3C. On March 5, 2013, joined by park security and crime scene specialists, Detective Sarah Mitchell went into the underground corridor beneath Adventureland, a space that had been marked forbidden since 1986 due to earthquake safety construction. They located door 3C, painted black with corroded hinges, and no mention of it on current building plans. When they broke it open, it showed a disturbing room. There were store mannequins covered in dust, fake coffins from the Haunted Mansion, decaying wooden boxes labeled Fantasyland 1975, and in the rear, a line of clothing bags hanging from a rusted pole. Inside the bags, 5 complete character outfits: Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, and one costume that was never officially made. It was a darkened Mickey Mouse version with dull colors, extended gloves, and larger eyes. It wasn't created for entertaining. It was built to disguise a person so they could blend in without being seen. Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much. Evidence left behind. Crime scene experts gathered threads, small bits of DNA, and samples from all 5 character outfits. The odd Mickey costume held something more: human hair, bone pieces, and part of a leg bone from a child thought to be 10 to 13 years old. Tests showed it matched Sophia Martinez. After 28 years, they had proof she was there. Not in the park, not buried somewhere, but hidden inside the fabric of a costume made to make children happy. But there was no trace of Emma. Mitchell started to think what nobody wanted to admit. There might not have been just one fake character. There might have been several people. Part 4. The Secret Room. It began with someone telling the truth. 3 weeks after finding the hidden room full of costumes, someone sent Detective Sarah Mitchell an email with no name. No one could track where it came from, just one sentence. The secret room was real. I was there in 1985. The twins weren't the first ones. With it was a blurry photo of what looked like a concrete hallway, barely lit with cartoon stickers coming off the walls. At the far end was a thick metal door. You could just make out letters above it that said RZ01. Disney had no records of any place called Room Zero, but workers who had been there a long time remembered stories about a test storage tunnel built under the first Fantasyland in the late 1970s, a building project that never finished and was closed off when they ran out of money. If this secret room existed, it wasn't for visitors. It wasn't even for workers. Going down on April 11, 2013, with heavy security, Mitchell and a team of experts followed a hidden path under a service elevator near It's a Small World. The hallway was tight and covered with falling plaster. Every few steps, cartoon faces were painted over bare wires, their smiles fading from the wetness. At the end was the door from the photo, RZ01. It felt cold and was locked with 3 heavy bolts. When they broke it open, the smell reached them first: mold, dust, and decay. The room inside was about 30 feet across, lit by old ceiling lights that were still connected to backup power. In the middle was a rusty metal table bolted down, and on the wall, 8 names written in faded marker, 6 crossed out, 2 not. The names not crossed out: Sophia, Emma. What they found spread around the room were rotted pieces of cloth, children's shoes, and an old music player. When they turned it on, it played repeating sound clips, pieces of Disney songs that were twisted and slowed until they were almost unrecognizable. Some workers said they heard a second voice mixed in with the music, whispering. Others said it spoke their names. In one corner, they found a hidden door that was sealed but not empty. Inside was a falling-apart wooden box stuffed with foam padding. Wrapped in an old Space Mountain shirt was a child's leg bone. DNA tests proved it belonged to Emma Martinez. She had been under the park for 28 years, unmarked, not mourned, stored away. The person who knew. As news reporters swarmed the story, a former Disneyland security boss came forward under police protection. He said that in the early 1980s, strange people in costumes had been spotted in the park after closing. Characters walking by themselves, refusing to talk, sometimes going into off-limits areas without keys. When security cameras were checked, those figures never showed up on film, but people swore they saw them. Some thought it was troublemakers. Others feared something much worse. The supervisor confirmed that the secret room had been quietly covered up after a child disappeared in 1981, and that costumes were secretly destroyed. Or so they believed. Someone had kept one and used it again. Part 5. Who was behind the mask? After weeks of no answers, the big break came out of nowhere. A 63-year-old man named Michael Harrison was arrested for trespassing in Bakersfield. When police took his fingerprints, they matched an old sealed file. He used to work as a maintenance contractor for Disneyland from 1980 to 1986. When asked where he was in July 1985, Harrison became strange. He talked about tunnels, asked for his costume, and whispered, "Mickey was never supposed to bleed." Police got permission to search his country home. What they found closed the case. The collection room. Hidden behind a fake wall in Harrison's basement was a private museum of terror. There were instant photos of children inside character-changing rooms, pieces of old Disney costumes including black Mickey gloves, sound recordings marked training audio with voices changed and mixed over carnival music, and worst of all, a journal. Inside the journal were entries written from 1981 to 1985. One, dated July 16, 1985, said, "The twins were perfect. They smiled. They trusted me. The tunnels belong to me now. The secret room keeps secrets." He called it his kingdom. He saw himself not as a man, but as a character the park had forgotten. The last door. One final search was ordered, this time under a long-closed section of the original tunnels. Harrison had drawn maps. One passage stood out: the mirror room. It was real. Behind a rusty panel, they found a room lined with one-way mirrors, spyglass facing out toward various ride lines. Left empty for decades, the room held rotting furniture, a broken speaker system, and scraps of costume fur pinned to bulletin boards. This was where Harrison had watched, where he had chosen the children he wanted to follow. Emma and Sophia hadn't been the first. They were just the ones no one could ignore. What happened after? Harrison was declared too mentally ill for trial and was put in a mental hospital, staying quiet. Rebecca Martinez died in 2016, 2 years after finally laying her daughters to rest. The secret room was sealed forever. The park said they knew nothing about what it was for. but workers still whisper about the tunnels and the time Mickey smiled just a little too wide. Do you think Harrison worked alone? Investigators still wonder. Or was he hiding something bigger? Something still under the park, some say. Did you like this story? If you were in Rebecca's position, would you have brought your 12-year-old twins to the restroom with you? Or would you have left them alone with Mickey Mouse for a short time? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. Always remember, don't leave your kids unsupervised with people you don't know. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in our next video. Have a wonderful day.